Hi, this is Holger from Velvet Viper, and you're watching Belgian Jasper.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time on the channel, hit subscribe right now. Zed Yago is a band that for people in Germany, I definitely won't have to introduce. This was a legendary band in the 80s featuring the iconic singer Jutta Weinhold. After some classic albums, that band fell apart and Jutta went on with a number of projects including Velvet Viper. And today the classic Zed Yago albums have been re-released under the name Velvet Viper. Joining Jutta on this new journey, we also find guitar player and songwriter Holger Marx, and it is with Holger that I sit down today to talk about the new lineup of Velvet Viper, the re-releases, and what the band has planned for the future.
When the raven's colors white and the curse turns upside down, dead and gone walking out.
Holger, thank you so much for your time today. A lot of exciting stuff coming out of the Velvet Viper camp. I mean, we've had 2 new full albums relatively recently, and now there's reissues of the remastered versions of Pilgrimage and From Over Yonder. Exciting to have all these releases coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, we've been doing these remasters done by Alex Kroll from Atrocity. They sound really fresh now. I don't know if you were familiar with the Zed Yago stuff.
Yeah.
Those were really in Germany. They were really pretty legendary when they came out. I guess for 20 years or something. They were not available on CD.
Underneath the surface is a wound that never heals.
They have now Velvet Viper on them on the cover. That's a little bit jarring probably for some people, but that way it was possible without having litigation and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point there. So first of all, for the people that are new to the concept of a Zed Yago, in Germany a pretty well-known name. Outside of Germany, maybe not so much. So for those that are new to Velvet Viper, Velvet Viper as a band was created in the early 90s after a German band called Zed Yago fell apart, let's call it. And these 2 albums are the classic releases of Zed Yago. Knowing how active you guys have been with the band in the last few years, why remaster? Why not, for example, fully re-record and take a really new, fresh approach?
Interesting question. I think Jutta never really thought about recording old songs. She's really into creative work, and we have so many ideas. We are already producing another album because there's so much stuff going on in our heads. And I think Massacre Records came up with the idea from their side, and we are really happy they did it, but we never had the idea to record this songs again.
The collapse of Zed Yago was not the most amicable event necessarily. So so I mean, and for some time there's been another, like there has been a Zed Yago version as well at the same time as a Velvet Viper. Re-releasing the albums as Velvet Viper, I think that most people will agree that whatever band Jutta is singing in is really the band. But I can also imagine that there've been some reactions, both positive and negative, based on the fact that they are now Velvet Viper albums. I think you kind of alluded to that a little bit earlier. Is that something that you are seeing as well?
Surprisingly, I've not have too many of those reactions who said, "Oh, you shouldn't use that name," and I think most people understand that it wasn't possible to use the old name because that was what the band broke apart
Yeah.
about, and they had a long chord sessions about that name, and Jutta simply wouldn't want to go there anymore and try to get that name back.
The old fans know obviously that these first albums, they're kind of like concept albums about this person of Zed Yago, which is, for people not familiar, is the daughter of the Flying Dutchman, who goes on a lot of interesting adventures. I assume then also that for those reasons we will likely not see that character appear in new Velvet Viper songs. Is that something that you feel sort of sad about? Would you like to write a follow-up to Pilgrimage from a story perspective?
We kind of do have this fantasy concept, just without the person of Zed Yago, because we can't have the name at all. And on our last album, The Pale Man is Holding a Broken Heart, we actually had the Dutchman, the Flying Dutchman, on the cover. And he was basically holding Zed Yago. Yeah, I had on a really old Metal Hammer CD in '89 or something. Like there was the song Zed Yago on it from their first album, and that really stuck for me. I was extremely humbled when I was asked in 2014 to join Jutta's band.
You and Jutta seem to be the at least the creative core of this current incarnation of the band. The two of you make an unlikely pair for the main reason, obviously, that Jutta is now in her 70s. She's been, she was already an experienced singer in the 70s. You are not in your 70s. You're a little bit younger. So you were invited to play into our band in 2014. How did that happen? Like, how did you get involved in this whole project?
Jutta was at that time having a band that was called Jutta Weinhold Band, which is kind of lame, but it was called that. And someone recommended me for it, and it was 10 days before the Keep It True festival.
Oh wow!
That was really exciting, and meeting Booby and Jutta. Then we played the festival just 10 days later, but it all went fine.
I can imagine you were a little nervous 10 days later on stage.
Definitely. I kind of stumbled into that one, but we then discovered that we really had kind of the same background with Dio and Maiden and all the 80s stuff, and it was really easy for us to come up with new songs, and then we decided to get that name Velvet Viper back, because it's much cooler than Jutta Weinhold Band. But it sounds like kind of blues band or something.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't give people an understanding of. I mean, it makes sense that Jutta wanted to also, utilize her name. I mean, she is an established person in the world of German rock and metal, but I agree. Velvet Viper sounds slightly cooler than Jutta Weinhold Band. One of the things that you've done to break up the quarantine is you guys released a home re-recording of Ring of Stone.
In front of Stonehenge, mysterious rocks.
Are you guys working on other surprises for the fans like that?
We might, and we should actually. And Jutta is really not a big fan of being on camera anymore. It's kind of it's understandable, kind of.
Yeah.
And doing this YouTube thing is not as easy as many people think. Probably. We recorded some acoustic versions of some of our songs. We might do videos for those. I think that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Beware, 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 lest you fall. Ring of stone, ring of stone.
So in April, the new album is going to come out. So what can you tell us about the new album?
We produced it basically ourselves, and it was mixed by Ralph Basten, who mixed the first Zed Yago album back in '87, which is cool. And we really have that old school vocal sound with a lot of reverb on it, and we're really happy with the sound this time. And we have a bass player and drummer with us now for quite some time, and we really have grown together and done really a lot of shows together, and we recorded them basically live, the basic tracks. We're really happy with that album. I hope you all like it.
Okay. Will there be on the new album? Will there be any songs that are inspired by Richard Wagner, like some old Zed Yago stuff? And I know that you guys have put some Wagner references throughout the newer albums as well. Is that something that we should look for?
No, actually we don't. It's a pretty straightforward power metal album this time.
Okay.
Thousand deserts crying death.
So if I can just recap, there is a new album coming out. There might be a full album live stream in the future. There's a video that's going to come out for a new song as well. There's just been 2 re-releases of the classic albums, and then the previous albums are still quite new as well. So a lot of interesting and cool stuff for the fans to watch out for. We'll stay in touch, and maybe we can revisit once the new album is out. I want to thank you so much for your time today.
This was great fun. Thank you, Jasper. Thank you for having me, and
My pleasure.
I wish you good luck with the channel. I followed that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.